All right, welcome everybody to our Backpack to Briefcase episode on developing and communicating soft skills in a variety of career-related settings. Think networking events, interviewing, and even places like your cover letter. My name is Elise Newberry, and I'm a career coach here in the Huntsman School of Business. We created this Backpack to Briefcase series as a way to talk about all things career preparation with alumni and professionals who are living it in the day-to-day world. We are pleased to welcome USU alumnus Michael Scott Peters. After a quick introduction, I'll let Michael take the time to address this important topic. So Michael served as the 2018-2019 U.S. Youth Ambassador to the United Nations, training young people to think globally and act locally at speaking engagements across the globe. He graduated summa cum laude with degrees in international business and marketing right here at the Huntsman School of Business at Utah State University, where he also served as the student body president. And fun fact, he's currently working on his MBA at BYU, so congratulations on that. Michael now leads a large enterprise sales development team at Workday, focusing on pipeline generation, go-to-market strategy, and talent development. In his free time, he enjoys marathon pacing, skiing with his wife, which hopefully is good slopes this year, and playing the accordion. Michael, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm excited to hear your insights on soft skills and the workplace.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Elise. I appreciate the introduction. Everyone, I'm very excited to be here with you today, to be back here where it all started at the Huntsman School of Business. I received so much during my time as a student here, and I'm grateful to be with you and share back a little bit of what I've learned, not only in school, but also in the workplace. So today, during the Backpack to Briefcase, we're going to talk about showcasing your soft skills. And we will go ahead and get started. Elise did an amazing job with the introduction, so I won't go any further. I just want to highlight that while serving as the student body president, there were so many great connections and people that I met. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about one call to action to never walk to class alone. I'll just preview that now. That led to an opportunity to work with the United Nations and now to Workday. So we're going to start with your journey. Imagine you're at the top of the mountain. You are at the peak of your education. You're learning each and every day there at the Huntsman School of Business. And you look ahead and you see your future career as this road. And there may be ups and downs, there may be some curves in this road, and you're so excited to get ready. Whether you're a senior just a few months away from graduating, or whether this is your freshman year and you're just getting started, it's an exciting journey ahead. I promise you that. And one of the things that will really help us in this career journey is the ability to develop and showcase those soft skills. One of my favorite things about the Huntsman School was not only the learning that I did within the classroom, but really the differentiator to get outside the classroom and apply what I was learning. And so the hard skills that you're learning, right, those technical skills will be very applicable in your career. Developing the soft skills will help you even more so as you move from job to job, as you work for different bosses, you're a part of different teams. That's really what will make a huge difference as well. So we're going to talk about how you can showcase that as well as developing it. Different jobs in the marketplace require different skills. In some situations, you may be mentoring, you may be using public speaking all the time, you may be a leader of a team. Other jobs might require more flexibility and attention to detail and communication. And finally, some jobs might be much more technical. You're in a finance role where you're using pivot tables, statistics, data science, machine learning all the time. And no matter what type of role that you're in, it's important to be aware of the skills you can develop now so that you'll be successful in the workplace. So let's talk a little bit about the changing world of work. Some of you may be familiar with the Great Resignation, right? After the pandemic, we saw a big change. In 2022, 50 million people quit their jobs. That's a lot. In the same year, 76 million people were hired to new jobs. So we saw a big transition in people saying, I'm going to leave what I'm doing. I'm going to transition to something else. And employers started to look more and more at the skills that people have. I know at least at Workday, a lot of our interviews are shifting and becoming even more focused on skill-based interviews and competencies. So we want to sit down and understand that you can do the basic qualifications of the role as you're joining a sales team, but also I want to understand your ability to negotiate, to communicate, to work well in a team. And those are some of the skills that you can be practicing right now in school. So let me just emphasize the need to develop soft and hard skills so that we can meet those workforce needs now and into the future. It will be to your benefit. I'll share a quick story about when I was in school. This is in the TSC ballroom. And one of the things that I noticed is that we did a really good job highlighting the captain of the football team and the all-star basketball players. But there were a lot more heroes on campus than just within our athletics department. And a lot of students on campus had been through some difficult challenges and some things that they've overcome and have really made them heroes, but not everybody knew that story. So we created a TED Talk-esque series where these students could come, once a semester. We would all come to the ballroom, fill it up, we'd stream it live and share these videos out across campus. And some of the students you see there on the screen are the ones who shared their story. And I was particularly touched by, if you see right here in the front, Matt shared his story about, being a student on campus, going on spring break to California, and he was surfing and was hit by a wave and actually broke his neck and was paralyzed from the shoulders down on a spring break trip with his friends. And he talked about how hard and difficult that experience was, and how he would say, or he had someone give him advice that you can feel sorry for yourself for 10 minutes every day, and then you've got to move on. And he allowed himself to do that, to overcome. And he said, I'm now still a successful student. I think at the time he'd just gotten engaged. He was moving on to have a really great life. And every student on that stage shared a story of something they'd gone through that had really made them a hero. And what that taught me through the experience is, as I saw each one of them present to 500 people in the ballroom and to many others in the virtual audience, that we each have a story to share. And we each have different skills that can help us overcome difficult things and showcase that to others. Many people in the room, even if they hadn't been through a similar experience, had empathy for our peers on campus and said, you know what, I need to make sure I'm helping everyone belong. So the Aggie Hero Initiative was one small example of a way I experienced and helped develop my own soft skills and helped others develop theirs. But I want you to think about, what's the call to action as you walk away today? How can I be helping someone else? How can I be practicing these skills that I'm learning? Because those will stick with you for the rest of your life. So build a strong foundation by getting involved in USU. It doesn't need to be on the third floor of the Student Center within USUSA. There are tons and tons of different clubs and involvement opportunities. But like I said, one of the best parts about the Huntsman School specifically is not only the opportunities within the classroom, but the chance to get outside the classroom and get involved. One of the other chances that I took to get outside the classroom was with the SEED program. And this was a phenomenal experience. We had a chance to go and really open up the program in the Dominican Republic back in 2018. And one of the stories I wanted to share here is with the members that you see in front of you. These were some of the students in our class, right? So we were teaching entrepreneurship skills, basic accounting principles. A few members of the group were amazing with baking and wanted to start their own bakery, but didn't fully understand how to keep track of, the basic debits and credits and how to run a business. So we taught them those principles. And one of the activities we did was an activity called Bigger or Better. And we gave everybody a paperclip and said, you have an hour to come back with something that's bigger or better. And so we wandered around the streets of the Dominican Republic, and they went to different shops and said, here's this paperclip. Can I trade this for a pencil? And they'd make that exchange. And then later, can I trade this pencil for a water bottle? And the water bottle to let's see, I think some people ended up with, one got a bottle of orange juice, somebody else got a mosquito net, which is actually super valuable in the Dominican Republic, and a book and a couple other things. But it taught me, within an hour's time, you can take something small, a talent or a skill that you have, you can go out of your comfort zone, and you can work with other people to grow your skills into something bigger or better. So it's another principle I'll leave with you is, as you're working on your story, as you're working on your skills, is to build a portfolio of stories. If you don't have a LinkedIn yet, you should, because that is something, as a hiring manager, I go to first. When someone applies for a role on my team, or one of the managers on my team, I'm going straight to LinkedIn and I'm wanting to learn your story. So if you can skillfully articulate not only your hard skills and the accomplishments you have, but maybe add some links to service projects you've been a part of, or link a YouTube video of something great that you've done, that'll help showcase your soft skills to hiring managers like me, in addition to other things you can add to your resume and portfolio. Finally, I want to tell a story about how I got to the United Nations. This was a very unconventional path, and one that I didn't think I had a chance to become a part of this, right? I looked at past youth ambassadors to the UN, and they were those who went to Harvard, Yale, Stanford, many of the schools that you hear a lot about. And I'll be honest, I had a little bit of self-doubt when I applied, because I was going to serve as the representative for our United States country to the United Nations. And I said, I don't know. And I was walking through the Huntsman Hall, coming down the stairs, and the spot where it shows Dare Mighty Things on the wall. And I thought to myself, man, Michael, what kind of example to this student body would you be if you didn't even apply for something that could have been within reach? And I said, I'm going to go for it. I applied, went through a very extensive and lengthy interview process. And that final interview was actually in the Dominican Republic. I had to find a church with some super slow Wi-Fi, to the point where when I got on the interview, the lag was so strong that I had to turn off my camera, and I wasn't able to, my camera was on, but I wasn't able to see the interview panel on the other end, which included Nikki Haley. And I answered and interviewed, and I apologized at the beginning of the interview for the slow connection and told them I was in the DR. And they said, hey, no worries. Sorry for taking you away from your vacation so that you could interview with us. And I said, actually, I'm not on vacation. I'm living here for a few months to, promote the SEED program, to really help, these men, women, and children get their lives back on track, build businesses, and learn more about, how to evolve out of the situations that they're in. And they said, hey, well, we're going to throw out the interview questions. Tell us more about this experience. And our whole interview consisted of me talking about SEED and talking about what I'd learned in the Huntsman School. And I eventually ended up getting the role at the UN. And afterwards, I said, what made the difference between me and the students from the Ivy League schools that we're interviewing? And they said, Michael, other people talked about what they wanted to do, and you were actually doing it. So I'm very grateful to the UN I'm very thankful to USU and the Huntsman School for providing me that opportunity. And this is why I want to showcase to you that it all starts now. Getting involved and showcasing and telling your story can open some fantastic doors for you. You've got to have the courage to do it. If I would have walked down that staircase in Huntsman Hall, looked at that Dare Mighty Things sign and said, maybe another day, I could have been in a very different place right now. But I'm very grateful for that encouragement, and it's really been a motto I've taken with me even beyond Huntsman to go for other things in life. So that's the third story, is being able to tell your story before, during, and after the interview process. Taking you back to where we started on this journey that you're going on, you're in the very beginning, right? As you're applying to jobs, you want to be able to say, these are the things I'm working on. This is the value I would add to the business. And this is how I will not only make an impact in the first year, but how I will continue to grow my career within this organization. And then you can do that with those skills you're developing now. So as we're wrapping up, thought no better way than bringing in Big Blue to this presentation. He's pointing right at you. And as you look at some of these soft skills, teamwork, problem solving, relationships, conflict resolution, being a lifelong learner, and being able to present, those are some of the things that will all come together and form a synergy that will make you a well-rounded and strong individual for the interview process. So think about those things and be proactive. Don't just wait for January 1st to set New Year's resolutions, but set some goals. One of the goals that I had in school was to never walk to class alone. And I would think about leaving the student center and walking to the business building, and that 5 to 10 minute walk that I would take almost every day. I'd look to my left and right and see people with headphones in and staring at the ground. I'm like, we don't need to be walking alongside each other to the same place and not have a conversation. So I'd say, hey, my name's Michael, what's your name? And we'd just start up a conversation. I'd remember that name. And then the next day I'd see them and say, hey, Tyler, great to see you again. What class are you headed to? And each and every day, that was a goal I set for myself. It was actually a goal to meet 5 new people a day. I'd get home and write in my journal where I met them, what their name was, and maybe something important about them. And I started that habit in September 23rd of 2012. And I have not missed a day of writing in my journal since. That was thanks to a book that I'll talk about a little bit later. But that really helped me get out of my comfort zone, talk with other people. I'd go to the marketplace in the student center. I'd eat lunch at the hub. And my goal as well, I typically went alone, is I would sit down at a table with somebody else who was by themselves and have that conversation. So please, please, please get out of your comfort zone. Don't just hang out with the same 3 friends through your college experience, because you'll be missing out on something that's really special about USU. And it's that everybody's going for the same goal. Afterwards, it might be a little different to sit down on airplanes or sit on a train in Salt Lake City to spark up those conversations. Man, I miss USU because I had that privilege and opportunity each and every day. So take advantage. People would love to talk with you as well. And that's a way you can be developing your skills. So to summarize, some of the takeaways I'd love for you to just remember as we wrap up today, the world of talent is changing. You think about COVID, you think about the Great Resignation, you think about what companies are looking for today. It's those who not only have the hard technical skills that you can build pivot tables and understand machine learning or build a marketing strategy, but a lot of that stuff will continue to change. Your soft skills won't. If you can communicate, that will translate no matter where you go. If you can present, if you can collaborate as a team and be a leader, those are things that transcend hard skills and anything else. So developing those skills and building that skill set now is critical. Then the second part is those skills do you no good if you're not able to tell your story well. So practice and apply yourself. And when it comes time to interview, be able to articulate your story succinctly. And then after the fact, if given the job opportunity, continue to build those skills in the workplace so that you can grow and advance your career. And with that, I just want to thank you so much for the time today. I hope it's been helpful. And I just want to share that you can find me on LinkedIn, Michael Scott Peters. I'd love to be a resource to you and continue to support as you're developing your skills right here at the Huntsman School of Business.
Thank you so much, Michael. It's fantastic. I loved hearing about how walking down that big stairwell with the Dare Mighty Things really inspired you. So it's interesting to hear examples of your environment inspiring you to make moves that in the future inspire other people. That's really cool because I've talked to students and you really do have an inspiring story. We do have a couple of questions that I would love to get your perspective on. The first being, how do soft skills come into play in the workplace? I mean, we know that they're important. We hear about it, but operationalize that for us. How does that come into play?
Absolutely. And I'll give an example here at Workday. So I lead our large enterprise sales team. So I have 5 managers on my team, and each one of my managers has 5 or 6 members on their team. And so it's about 30, 35 people in the org. And everybody was hired to execute on a certain task, right? We're building sales pipeline. We're finding new opportunities. We're calling Fortune 500 companies, and we're talking about, potentially, million to multi-million dollar deals. And there are some very technical, hard skills that you need to develop to be a part of that process. Anyone who's been a part of, a marketing if you've been a part of Sterling Bone's sales class, you understand the technical hard skills that you need. At the same time, there is no script that's going to get you through that process. You've got to be able to problem solve. You've got to be able to pivot. And so in the workplace, you'll understand that the ability to think on your feet, the ability to collaborate with those, next to you and continue learning will be critical. So just want to highlight there that they come into play all the time in the workplace. And that's why I think practicing them now, and like I said, talking to everybody that you can, making new friends at lunch will really be the practice that supports you later in the workplace.
Yeah, I totally agree. There's problem solving every single day for sure, and pivoting no matter what. To kind of look at your perspective, when we're interviewing there are so many important skills that we want to highlight that we experience and that we're developing. Which ones as a hiring manager do you prioritize when hiring?
Absolutely. I can actually give you 4. I call these the core 4. And it's leadership, it's work ethic, it's relationships, and then it's a 4th one that's called, who are you bringing with you? Think of that as the mentorship piece. But so leadership's not about a title, right? And I want to be able to see, if you're in a group of people, who's the one that raises their hand or volunteers to take charge and set the example. Work ethic, I think that's pretty self-explanatory. No matter the role, you've got to be able to put your best foot forward and demonstrate those abilities to go the extra mile. I'm a marathon runner, and that's what life is all about for me. Is when you get tired after running 10, what's it going to take to run that 11th mile? When you get tired after 26.2, what would it take to run another one after that? So that's the thought process that I'm looking for. Relationships. Nobody likes a lone wolf who is there to just work hard but put down others, right? And so the ability to collaborate, and then who are you bringing with you, is a question I want you to all think about. How are you going to lift as you climb? How are you going to give back? We've all gotten to where we are today because somebody opened the door for us. I shared many examples of, what eventually led to the SEED program and how that opened the door to the UN and eventually Workday. That was because mentors brought me along with them. And so be thinking about how you can lift as you climb and bring others with you.
That's really important and poignant. Being able to bring other people with and encourage, being just as encouraging of others as those that have been encouraging of you. Okay, one more question. Mm-hmm. what follow-up questions in an interview? Because we know in an interview, we're interviewing the employer as much as we are being interviewed as candidates. So what follow-up questions can candidates ask to showcase their ability to adapt and thrive in that environment, in the work environment?
Absolutely. I think one of the first questions I would ask is, what are the core values? You may see some company core values on the website, but I just shared with you 4 core values that I have, right? Leadership, relationships, work ethic, and who are you bringing with you? If you're interviewing the interviewer and they don't have a good answer to their core values, or they don't provide examples of where you can continue to grow and learn, maybe it's not the right role for you. If you feel like I'm going to get in and I'm going to be in a job that's just a plateau and I won't be able to continue to hone my craft and develop those skills, you'll get a good sense for that. At the same time, if someone's able to readily answer those questions for you, it's probably a good sign that you will be able to grow.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Question I always love to ask every guest that we have: are there any additional resources that you would recommend folks check out?
Absolutely. So here's where I want to share my favorite book of all time. I read it my freshman year of college, and it's called The Happiness Advantage by Sean Aker. I read it as part of the Huntsman Scholar Program. And so it was a book that was given as an assignment. And we all know how we feel about assigned reading. Outside of a religious context, this is the book that's made the most impact on my entire life. And really, it shares the concept of, a lot of times we think we need to put success at the center of our universe, and then happiness will revolve around it. And this book flips the script and said, Elise, what if we put success at the center of our universe? Right? Think about the happiest people that you know. You'll find that success naturally comes to them because they've chosen to be happy. And one of the principles is writing down the 3 best things that happen to you each day. So September 23rd, 2012 is when I read that. And I have not missed a day since. I've continued to write. And the reason I recommend this book in terms of developing your skills is because it's taking that time to self-reflect, right? You get to the end of the day and it's not about writing about the sad things that happen, right? I think my very first journal entry was, I got a free peanut butter and jelly sandwich from the Institute building. I was walking by and they're like, hey, you want a free PB&J? I'm like, I'm a college student. Of course, I love free food.
Yeah.
And then I think I wrote about sitting next to a pretty girl in chemistry class. Like, it didn't need to be anything big, but I look back on that and taking a moment to just reflect on, who's the name of somebody I met today. Yeah. Tonight, Elise, I'm probably going to write about our conversation right here and the chance to share and bring the Huntsman students along with me. Very simple, but in terms of skill development and in terms of growing and progressing and learning, taking 30 seconds to write down in your journal what's important to you will make all the difference.
Yeah. And that's a soft skill that we haven't even talked about, really, is that dedication to grow and reflect and learn. That drive is an incredible soft skill that can absolutely dictate your career path or what you define as success in your life. I don't write in a journal, but I do try and read every single night. And that could be a paragraph or 10 pages or listening to an audiobook. So even those little disciplined actions can make a really big difference.
Absolutely.
Well, once again, thank you so much, Michael, for joining us today. As always, I want to plug our resources on the Huntsman FJ Management Career Services page. We've got tons of resources, always happy to meet with students and alumni. And knowing we've got plenty of events coming up, it's important to hone up those interviewing skills, job search skills, really refine your resume. That's important. And look at who you could be networking with. So once again, thank you so much, Michael Scott Peters. Really appreciate your time today.
Thank you, Lisa. Go Aggies.
Go Aggies.